Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Heresy Hammer. It is me, Rob, and my hashtag is at Mobius Miniatures, and we've also got Lee at Death from the Shadows as well.
Hello.
I'm really excited about this one because we're talking Alpha Legion today, aren't we?
We
Um,
are.
and this is actually something I know some things about. So hopefully we can do this show with confidence. Just a reminder, this is an adult show. We won't be getting our kit off, but we certainly will be using some swear words throughout this. So if you are easily offended, then I suggest you
Fuck
click
off.
off now. Yes, fuck off right now. Exactly right. But just to say thank you to a few of our sponsors as ever. So thank you to BitSponsor, who do free shipping over £25 and also give you 10% off. So you can go get sprues and bits from those guys. We also have Beowulf Miniature Printing, great for 3D printed bits, especially if you want them en masse. And we've also got Battle Bling as well. Battle Bling, just a shout out. So Battle Bling have Battle Builder coming out this summer, which is all about making nameplates. I think I discussed it last episode, but those guys are helping us out with all the nameplates for the Solar War event that we've got coming up in November, but also December as well. So a big thank you to those guys because I think they've got to do like 96 nameplates in total for the attendees. So thank you ever so much. Really appreciate that one, guys. But over to the meat and potatoes of the episode. You'll notice again, we haven't done Heresy Hammer or community news, mainly because there's not a lot of community news, but we have a show up our sleeve, a community show that we said we were going to do in May, then we said we were going to do in June, but it will have to fall in July, so it is coming.
So it'll be here in about October, November
Yeah,
time.
exactly. It is coming. But for various reasons that we won't go into now, we've just not been able to do it. But we are going to talk about Alpha Legion today. And they are, I think, so how would I describe them? I definitely would describe them as the opposite of World Eaters. They're not a click and point kind of point and click kind of Legion. There's multiple ways to run them. And they've got a lot of tricks up their sleeve as well. Now,
Tricksy.
yeah, really tricksy. And we've done a couple of Tactica, well, I've done a couple of Tactica episodes on from the Patreon going through lists for Alpha Legion. Before my first list, which I ran when I went to Warhammer World, and then the list I took to SM Battle Reports, and both of those are 3K. 3K list. I think though this is the most fun I've had running an army in a long while. In fact, I'd be so bold as to say this is the most fun I've had running an army because they play in a slightly unusual and different way. And I think one of the frustrating things lore-wise is that there's quite a lot of obfuscation around them. You know, with the Primarch book. Yeah, you read it and were like, I don't know whether any of this is true or whether it's just lies.
Yeah.
But it plays into their whole kind of mythos and things like that. But you got any initial thoughts on Alpha Legion, Lee, before we get started?
Well, to be honest, I'd not really looked at their rules until yesterday when you told me we were doing this.
Yeah.
And I started reading their rules, and then I think I messaged you like, "Holy fuck, I want to
Yeah.
do Alpha Legion
Yeah.
now." I feel like I'm guilty of every time we do a review on a Legion. I'm like, oh, I really like this Legion.
You are no guilty than any either me or any
Yeah,
of the watchers of these Legion episodes.
but I do have a soft spot for the Alpha Legion.
Yeah.
I like their sneaky ways. I
Yeah.
love their lore. I love the fluff. I love the fact that you read so many stories about them and it could all just be lies because
Absolutely.
no one actually knows what the truth is.
Yeah.
Um, and then I feel like within the game, like as we'll get into, their rules seem to be very good,
Mm.
but
Mm.
also really fluffy. Like
Yeah, really
they're
thematic,
very
aren't they?
thematic to
Yeah.
how you would think the army would play.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I
Yeah,
like
I think they've
them
done a
a
great
lot.
job with the rules writing. Actually, I think that yeah, they
Yeah,
play really well, and I think that when we say this a lot about rules. Actually, we said this about the White Scars, but when people had seen them like the -2, we'll get to that in a bit. People were like,
yeah,
"Oh, that's not that good," but for charges in the assault phase, it can be the difference
Yeah.
between your unit getting destroyed or not. And I think that
I mean, it's the difference between you shooting your enemy and not getting shot back.
yeah, exactly.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, reaction. Well, I'm out of
Yeah,
range, so
range.
fuck
Yeah,
you.
100%. So yeah, but they can also combine their Legion rule with lots of other things as well, to make it even more awkward. And I think that's the other thing I would say, which is that if you use it right, it can be very frustrating for your opponent to play, because things can definitely go wrong for them. But yeah, let's get straight into it. So let's go into the Legion rule, which is lies and obfuscation. So I'll read this and then I'll talk about it. So essentially, if you got a model with this rule, so note that it says a model. So this counts for tanks, it counts for dreadnoughts, counts for infantry, etc. It is always considered to be 2 inches further away than it actually is when measuring from an enemy model for the purposes of resolving shooting attacks, charges, or any reactions declared by an enemy model. And this is cumulative with any other modifiers to range imposed by special rules such as night fighting or Wargear, so shroud bombs, etc., etc. So just to bring out a couple of things on this one. So I found that in the shooting phase, this doesn't make a whole massive a lot bigger difference. It can do. Especially we talk about like las cannons and you're just like, oh, I'm just a little bit out of range. But when you pair it with, say, shroud bombs on recon squads, you're no longer 6 inches out of shooting range. You're now 8 inches, which is gets to the point where it's really long range. In terms of reactions, if you think about the Imperial Fist reaction, they've got a 10-inch bubble for their advanced reaction where you charge during the movement phase. That becomes 8 inches. Your where you trigger reactions, it's no longer 12, it's now 10 inches. So if you think ahead carefully, and you're pre-measuring a lot of these things, you can stop your opponent reacting, which is really powerful. But I found with charges, it's where it comes really into its own. So if you think an average 7-inch charge, that becomes a 9-inch charge, your odds drop dramatically. And then you pair that with, say, difficult terrain, which is now another -2 to that charge. Your 7-inch charge becomes an 11-inch charge. So if you're in some cover, it's going to be very difficult for your opponent to get that average 7-inch charge. So it can be super frustrating, but I think you just need to be cognizant of it when you're particularly when you're moving around and moving things on the board. But yeah, it is way more powerful than you might think, particularly I think in the assault phase. And there's smoke and mirrors. So this is a lovely little reaction. It's absolutely
fucking brilliant.
Yeah. So this is really useful. And I'll talk in a moment about why it can be useful and the way you can use it. So essentially, smoke and mirrors. If Lee were to declare a shooting attack against me with a 10-man las cannon squad,
let's throw it out there and say a 10-man las cannon squad,
and he shoots at my Leviathan dreadnought, I can then decide to declare smoke and mirrors. Now, this is a shooting phase reaction because it's obviously during Lee's shooting phase. I then can pick that Leviathan up. I can move it within 12 inches of wherever it started, or wherever I picked it up. So that means I could put it behind terrain. I could move it further up the board to get closer and just go, I'm going to take the shots, but I'm going to move it up the board. I could move it, I can move it wherever within that 12 inches. So that gives you a 24-inch kind of like, deployment zone area. And then from there, you roll a d6 and it scatters that d6, but it can't go over impassable terrain or within 1 inch of an enemy model, and it can't go off the board either. So there's no risk to it. It's just that you might go further back than you kind of had planned. But the absolutely amazing thing is, if you're out of range, once you've determined its final position, or your opponent can no longer see you, your opponent loses that shooting attack. So it really is brilliant for redeploying, getting places, moving slow units to getting them up the board quicker, but also blunting your opponent's, say, heavy support squads. It becomes massively useful there. It's absolutely brilliant reaction, and the times that I use it are more often not with things in cataphracti, armor, leviathans, to move them up the board to get them to where I need to go quicker.
See, that's interesting because I hadn't even thought about moving them up the board. I just thought, oh, that's fucking great for that turn 1 10-man las cannon squad, and you're like, oh god,
I'm gonna redeploy this, and absolutely. So it's a it's very versatile and more versatile than you might think, depending on your army makeup. If you've got a lot of slow units in there, this could be a real advantage because you could potentially go 18 inches up the board, and then just try and get behind some terrain.
Plus, I just love it's really thematic as well. Like I was
So good,
saying,
so good.
like we're going to shoot that Alpha Legion dude, and then poof, he does a Batman, throws a smoke bomb, and then appears somewhere else.
Absolutely, yeah, it's so good. Cool.
Yeah.
Right, let's have a look at. I'm hoping Rules of Treachery comes up here. Okay, so rewards of treachery. So essentially, Alpha Legion are great if you want to play other legions as well. So this allows you to take in your Alpha Legion army, and this could be in a normal game or frontline game or in a ZN game. You can take a unit from any other legion. Now, just a couple of things on this, which is that they don't have that native legion rule. So let's say I'm taking Dark Furies, they don't have the Raven Guard Legion rule. They come with the Alpha Legion rule, which is obviously the -2 that we've gone through already. However, they do have access to all the war gear and kit that unit would usually come with. So if, for example, I take a squad of Deliverers, which is a Raven Guard unit, and it says within their unit entry, I can take the Raven's Talons, I can still upgrade them, although that's not an option for Alpha Legion to take. So that means you can take the best of the best units within your Alpha Legion list and play them. So if you want a different painting challenge, etc., etc., I think that Alpha Legion is really cool because it offers you an opportunity to paint some different units, and also you might not just have one unit. You might have, depending on who you play. Depending, you might be playing Sons of Horus. You might go, oh, I'll take some Justarian because that's just super cheeky. You might theme your army around a unit that you play. Now, they do fill the original starting slot as well. So Justarian fill an elite, so they would just fill an elite's unit. Dark Furies fill the fast attack, they would just fill the fast attack. So something to be mindful of. So Kerry has just put a few notes here, which is essentially it's representing Alpha Legion stealing other Legion tactics, their training and equipment. And it's not that these guys were Alpha Legion all along. It's not like a unit that's been turned. It's just that they're trained up in those tactics. But a couple of ones here. So Golden Keshig, they're ones I use. They hit like an absolute battering ram, but not so good if they get caught and charged. Iron Havocs, of course, they're a heavy sports squad, super duper one. Galvorvac, obviously very strong. We did a whole tactica on them last month. Knights Zenobiums, amazing. Murderous Strike, Rending Swords, what's not to love. And it's interesting actually because Fulmentaris used to be taken all the time by Alpha Legion players. And now they've just put them straight in the bin. Justarian, Kazagan, Speeders. I think that's a good option, actually, if you like fast attacks. Huskels, of course, battle hardened. Siege Tyrants, long range shooting. Dawnbreakers, useful for deep strikes and gives you some, I think they're Furious Charge. They're like strength 6. They've got rending or breaching 5 up. Suzerain, you see those an awful lot because, of course, they are one of the best units in the game. They also have Line. We did a whole episode on Ultramarines last month. Dark Furies, Rampagers, Phalanx Blades, what's not to love, Dominators, and Maragar. Now, it's interesting, I think, with this because, Rampagers, they're still a good option, but they are obviously better in World Eaters because they get the additional attacks. So there are some where you go, okay, well, does the Legion, like Suzerain, I don't think there's too many negatives about taking that because actually the +1 to hit on shooting, you got Suzerain with bolt pistols. It's not that big a deal. Your Dark Furies, they re-roll because they've got Shred. So the rule doesn't kind of like affect them too much, their Legion rule. So it's just, I think, about thinking about which one works best and will work best in your list, and what's the theme of your list as well. Any obvious ones you would go for, Lee? Which one, if you were running an Alpha Legion army, which one would you?
To be honest, no, I don't think there are any obvious ones. I think it kind of, I think it really depends on how you're running your army, and I just think it's a really good way of being able to put into your army something that it's lacking. 100%. So if you're lacking close combat, then you find the best close combat unit. Exactly. If you're lacking, anti-tank, take Iron Havocs.
Exactly. And it gives you so much flexibility.
Yeah.
And I think
I don't think there is an obvious choice. I just think, it's and also like whatever the theme of if you're running a campaign, and you're playing, I don't know, against White Scars, then take some White Scars units because it's
Exactly.
just cool. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's how I
So
themed mine actually. So like all my so I've got lots of dead white scars on
yeah,
on the
yeah, yeah.
bases, and Alpharius is killing a dead white scar, and then I've got some like half painted up white scars guys, and then the golden Kashig, and I've got some Kizagan speeders also ready to paint up as well. So yeah, exactly as Lee says, it gives you a level of flexibility in your list building where you can plug holes if you need to. And I think that again, this is a theme throughout that we're picking up, which is that okay, well, I've got a slow unit, so I can use smoke and mirrors to move it up the board quicker. I need to plug a gap here because my list doesn't have it, so I'll take Galval back. So you can see it's actually quite like a versatile and flexible the way that the list building is and the way the
Hmm.
Legion works as well. Cool. Right. Okay. Let's go over to the next part, which I'm assuming is Warlord traits. Okay. So we've got a loyalist only one, and then we've got two kind of normal ones that could be used with loyalists or traitors. I'm actually going to go in a reverse order because I'm going to start with a
Ooh.
Hydra and Excursa and then come to the Mobius configuration because it's probably the more complicated of them. So I would say Hydra and Excursa is probably the one I see the most, and it tends to be the one that I would take as well because Master of Lies. Um, there are ways to kind of like get Master of Lies with special characters. So Hydra and Excursa, if you've just got no special characters, it tends to be the one I would take. So essentially, it means the Warlord and the unit that he joins gets +1 to hit, made against any models with the chosen variant of Legiones Astartes. So a couple of things to unpick there. Number one, it's +1 to hit, so it's not. I had always assumed it was close combat, but actually it's in shooting as well, just because it's +1 to
Yeah.
hit. So what I've done previously is just taken a Delegatus with a sniper rifle, put him with a squad of recons in the backfield, and then they're just hitting on threes if night fight or twos if it's fighting in the daytime, which is actually massively useful. But this only works against Legiones Astartes. So you need to look across the board and say, okay, well, this person's a word bearer. Okay, well, I'll pick word bearers. But if your opponent has word bearers and Sons of Horus in their army because they've taken an allied detachment, you can only choose one of those one legion chosen variant. Um, so yeah, so sometimes you might go, oh, okay, well, I'm facing mech, so I'm forced to then take the Master of Lies, right? Because it just wouldn't be particularly useful. However, it does give you an additional shooting reaction, and the fact that your advanced reaction is a shooting reaction as well yeah, it's just useful. So yeah, so it's something to consider, but there are certain places where this will not be useful, but I've just found that it's fairly versatile. And if you've got a nails close combat unit, if you think, oh, I'm taking Knight Zenobium and I'm going to put my Warlord with them, having +1 to hit is just going to be massively useful against other elite units, especially as those Knights Zenobium don't get the +1 to hit with their swords because of they're just Dark Angels, right? So,
Right.
um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, so some things to consider on that one, but pretty good. So Master of Lies, Lee, do you want to read this one to us? I've
Yeah,
basically forgotten what it
so
says now. So
Master of Lies, army whose warlord has this trait may, at the start of the battle, once all players have deployed all of their units onto the battlefield, including infiltrators and scouts, and any rolls to seize initiative have been made, select up to 3 units that are under their control. Selected units may be redeployed as the controlling player wishes within the constraints of the mission being played. This is the bit I don't understand about this. They may be replaced. They may be placed into reserves,
yeah,
but may not be brought out of reserves and onto the battlefield or assigned to a deep strike assault,
yeah.
subterranean assault, or flanking assault. Like,
Uh,
okay,
yeah, it's just so basically if you've got something in reserve, it's just got to stay in reserve. You can't put them on the table.
yeah, but
You're
the way that
basically
reads is
redeploying.
you're never allowed to bring them out of reserve,
Yeah, I see what you're
like
saying.
ever
No,
during
yeah,
the game.
yeah,
At
no,
no
no,
point in
no.
that game are you allowed to
Yeah, I don't think
to
it's quite like that, but
deploy.
yeah, okay, I can see how
I
that will
just
play.
the way I read it, it's like that doesn't make sense. And then you get an additional reaction during the opposing player's movement phase, as long as the warlord has not been removed as a casualty. So this is one of the ones that I really like this. I
Yeah,
think this is fucking huge. Just
yes.
just to be able to deploy first and then redeploy units once your
Yeah.
opponent's set up is
That I,
just
that's where I think
massive.
it really comes into its own, which is that if you re if you deploy first and then you see how your opponent then deploys, and then you can counter deploy to that. I think that's where it really, really comes
Yeah,
into its own. And the fact that it's after infiltrators and scouts is even better
yeah,
because it's
yeah.
just like, oh, my unit's a bit too close to that unit. Oh, I'm gonna move this back here. So it gives you a lot of tactical flexibility.
I guess the problem with this is if you aren't going first, the whole thing's kind of pointless.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. I think that
Um,
um I so I think that it depends how you guys play at home, but if you do seize the initiative before scout, then I think it can become useful because you then do your scout moves and then you redeploy.
right.
But I think it depends on how you interpret that rule. I tend to play it that scout is done after seize the initiative. Um so I think there it can still be useful, especially with getting your infiltrators and scouts too close. And actually, if your opponent sees the initiative and then you go, fuck, I do need to redeploy these out of line of sight, that can become, I think, really powerful. But again, that's entirely about where you guys do your seize initiative because I play it, it comes before scout. So yeah, so
Interesting.
massively useful, but we will come to Alpharius. And if you're taking Alpharius,
Yeah.
he's just got this anyway.
I mean,
So
this is just a poor man's Alpharius, isn't it? But
exactly that.
I still think it has the potential to be very, very powerful.
100%. So the Mobius configuration, it's a loyalist only. Um, it's a loyalist only. So essentially, what it means is that you can take a allied detachment uh, of um, of Legiones Astartes, and they become fellow warriors. Um, but because the Alpha Legion are actually not really busy mates with many people, if you want to take an allied detachment, it's actually quite hard for them to kind of be friends with that allied detachment or to make them scoring. Um, so you take an allied detachment, and then so units from this allied detachment that are removed as casualties do not score victory points for the opposing player, regardless of the mission objectives in play. And if all models that were part of the allied detachment have been removed as casualties at the end of the battle, the controlling player gains 1 VP. However, nobody in that allied detachment can react. Uh, and then your reaction. But the first unit in the primary detachment to make a reaction each turn, so not phase, each turn, does not use up a point of the controlling player's reaction allotment when making that reaction. So I think that more often than not, you're probably going to get it's a movement reaction that you're going to get for free,
Yeah.
unless
Yeah.
you choose to go, oh, I'm not going to move, I'm not going to take any movement reactions and save it for a particular phase. But I find that a pretty unlikely scenario. I think the big failing for this, for me, it's great that the allied detachment doesn't give up any um, victory points. Massively useful. You know, it's like a poor man's Sagia Mazan. But the fact that because then you're like, oh, I'll load up on the allied detachment. I'll take a lot of units there because they won't give up any VPs, and if they all die, I'll get 1 VP. But the problem with loading up on those is that none of them can react. So then you are
Yes.
in that scenario, your army just becomes weaker the more that points you shovel into that allied detachment. Um, yeah. So my thoughts on this is that it's probably best to take something in that allied detachment that's going to be deep striking. So kind of
Oh,
like
interesting.
some kind of Raven Guard deep striking element, something like lots of guys with jump packs or something like that, because they're going to be in the thick of fighting. They're going to be in combat hopefully from that second turn onwards, and so you're not too worried about kind of reacting because you're just throwing them in there. Um, and I think this is where you could do some like Guard Dark Furies can have like a Delegate, sorry, a Praetor or just like a champion with a jump pack, Assault Marines with some jump packs, and just have like a deep striking element. Throw them in. If they die, they die. You get a VP out of it, but they won't relinquish any VPs. I think that that's probably the safe from kind of playing around with this, the safest route to go. You really want to
Interesting.
be in the thick of
See,
combat.
my first thought was, I'd take two Iron Hand Breacher squads
Oh yeah, yeah.
and just have them sitting on objectives, just holding objectives.
That's a
No,
good idea.
they can't react, but they are just there to score
Score
points.
points.
And if they die, you score more points.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah,
That
yeah.
was my
That's a good one. Actually, totally different.
yeah.
Like opposite ends of the spectrum there. Yeah, I hadn't considered that, but that's a
And
great shout.
then
Yeah,
Alpha Legion is just there to kill shit.
yeah. That's
But I did
interesting.
think what you thought about them. I was like, well, you're just going to get an extra reaction and movement, which
Yeah,
isn't terrible, but you
yeah.
know,
It sounds
yeah,
better than it is, but actually, the reality is that you often use a movement reaction unless you're going to save it.
yeah.
So yeah, let me just check. I just want to just while we're doing this, I'm curious to know whether Company of Bitter Iron can be taken as a allied detachment because
I don't think it can, off the
let's
top
have a
of my
look.
head.
So Company of Bitter Iron, an army whose primary detachment on the war.
Yeah,
There you go. Because I was like, oh man, if you could just put loads of I mean, you could still take them in the elites. You still got two elites, haven't you? But
yeah.
the Medusan Immortals would be great.
I think the thing
Great for
is,
them.
you want to keep your points down as low as possible, don't you, really?
Yeah,
Because,
yeah,
yeah, like I would just take bare bones, couple of breacher squads,
yeah,
stick them on objectives.
yeah.
No, they can't react, but they're just there
Ah,
to
Lee, you've
score.
just incepted me. I'm like, oh, I've been wanting to do Alpha Legion, Iron Hands
Iron
for ages.
Hands.
You totally just
There you
incepted me
go.
there.
You're
Nice one.
welcome.
Okay, cool, awesome. Well, great idea from Lee. There, I love. Actually, I'm going to totally do that because I need some scoring, and I'm going to totally do that. I absolutely love that. Great idea. I'm going to totally do it. Stealing that. Cool. Right, let's move on. And I think we're looking at Rites of War. So, one very powerful Rite of War, which your opponent will always take, and one terrible Rite of War that nobody will ever take unless they want to spam one unit. We'll have a look at the cause of the Hydra first. So we'll have a look at what it said initially, and then we'll have a look at what the fact and how it totally fucked up this Rite of War. So the effects of Cause of the Hydra. So the whole idea of this is that basically it's a force that's trained up um, in the wily ways of another legion. So attachment using this Rite of War may include up to 3 of the units selected as part of a rules of treason. Each of these units is paid for as normal and takes up that force or blah blah blah. It basically means that you can take up to 3 units from any legion. So you could have from reading that, you could have Golden Keshig, you could have Kazagan speeders, and then you could have the Ebon Keshig, right? You're like, oh, I can do a whole like themed force without having to do that actual legion. All units selected as part of this attachment gain the by means of this, by the rewards of treachery special rule, gain the fearless special rule until at least one other friendly unit has been deployed from reserves onto the battlefield. So all those units starting on the board that are from rewards of treason, they're all fearless. Or until an Alpha Legion, that is not rewards of treason, steps onto the board. All units are selected as part of the detachment using the Rite of War without the use of the rewards of the treachery. Special rule gain a +1 to hit roll made for them in all attacks by shooting and melee made during the playing turn in which they are deployed onto the battlefield. So that might be massively useful if you've got some kind of like deep striking element. So from those effects, I'm thinking, okay, you could have 3 backfield units that are like shooting based, and then your actual Alpha Legion guys do the heavy lifting with the deep strike. And those backfield units are fearless until that deep strike comes up. Sounds fandabidozy, right? So I mean, you could see like Iron Warriors being quite useful here. You could go like Siege Tyrants, you could go Iron Havocs, and then a third unit. I don't know, like Domitars, right? So you got some shooting, and then etc. And they're all fearless, so brilliant. Limitations. So all units selected as rewards of treason must be deployed on the battlefield at the start of the first game turn. We covered that one. That's fine. They may not be placed in reserves or assigned to a deep strike assault. That's fine. No problem there. An attachment using this Rite of War must include a number of units selected without the use of the rewards of treason special rule equal to or greater than the number of units selected using the rewards of treachery rule. So basically, you need to have more of like the Alpha Legion units than the rewards of treachery units. So that's all good. You can create from there like a battle plan where you've got some different units in there to give you the flavor of the Legion, and it will play in quite a unique way, and hopefully will outfox your opponent, because they will be -2, but they will play like, like the unit you stole them from. Until this happened, which is the FAQ basically fucked it. So when including units selected using rewards of treachery as part of the cause of the Hydra special rule, can you select up to 3 different units? No. So what that basically meant was that, and walking through that for you guys, what that basically meant was you could only take up to 3 squads of siege tyrants, and it can only be 3 siege tyrants units. You can only take 3 units of Iron Havocs. You can only take 3 units of Dark Furies. Like, there's no, you're basically spamming that one unit. And I think that that was a really disappointing call, I think, from their part, because I think that the reason why people don't take this now is because you just be spamming the same unit.
Yeah. I mean, it says, can you select up to 3 different units? No. But it doesn't say you can't take 2 different units.
I like that. That's good. That's a good point. That's a good point. So this is not one you'll see. And I think that it's never going to be facts now, because we're less than a year till a new. No, they're also less than a year to a new edition. Like, it's not coming. So
I still quite like this one, but I think it just forces you. Yeah, like you say,
just spam.
You now have to take, like, no one likes spam, do they?
Yeah.
And it forces you to spam.
Yeah.
But yeah, I quite like the idea of it, but if you want to take 3 units of siege tyrants, just run Iron Warriors.
And that's it, isn't it? Yeah. And that's the thing. Yeah. It's just like, you had a bit of flexibility beforehand, and the flexibility's gone on this. So yeah. Okay, cool.
I still, I do like it, but yeah, I can see why that would piss people off. I just like the idea of having something like 3 siege tyrant units, and then having a load of like Alpha Legion jet bikes or something.
Yeah,
like 3 units deep really striking plus 1 to hit.
Yeah.
But it kind of, I feel like the thing with Alpha Legion is you can be very tricksy, and this forces you almost to not be particularly tricksy.
Yeah. I think the other thing is that, I mean, it also kind of forces you into a certain playstyle, which is that, as we've discussed, some kind of like backfield fearless shooting to weather the storm, but also to give you some shots first turn, and then some kind of like deep strike element. What you don't want with this is units coming slowly from reserve up the board with their +1 to hit and +1 shooting. You want them in the thick of combat. Really.
They need to be there, don't they?
Yeah. So I think that if you've got a list, I'd be curious to see what your Cause of the Hydra list is. Yeah, I've not been able to make it work, but mainly I've just avoided it because of the spam. So just one other thing to say, these can also only be taken as primary detachments. So these cannot be taken as allied detachments. Do you want to talk us through the Headhunter Leviathan, which is one of the best, I think, rights in the game?
So detachment using this right of war may take Headhunter kill teams as troop choices and fast attack choices. If an army includes a detachment using this right of war, then the Slay the Warlord secondary objective, if it's in play, is worth an additional 2 victory points to the controlling player of a detachment with this right of war. During the first game turn, all units composed entirely of models with the infantry unit type and Legion as a Astartes Alpha Legion special rule gain the Shrouded 5+ special rule whilst at least 12 inches away from any enemy unit. And then limitations. All models with the vehicle unit type in a detachment using this right of war must begin playing reserves. And the detachment using this right of war must include more fast attack choices than heavy support choices.
Yeah. So, so a couple of things to unpick on this one. So,
I mean, I don't know how good Headhunter kill teams are. So I guess, are they
basically
good?
they'll nuke characters. Like, cool. If you have them infiltrating and scouring up in the start of the turn, and you have first turn, and your character or warlords are out in the open, they're just going to get nuked because they can they're relentless and they can take multi-melters. Like, we'll come to it in a bit, but it's basically like, and they're just, and they've got like preferred enemy. They're just going to nuke apothecaries. They're going to nuke your sergeants. They'll nuke nuncio boxes. Like, Like
Oh, you
it
see,
can,
I love
yeah.
that. I love that a lot. As
So
someone, as a former sniper, I love the idea of taking out all the dickheads turn one.
yeah. So a couple of things to unpick. So first thing is they may take Headhunter kill teams as troops and fast attack troops. So you can absolutely load up on these. You could take up to 6, 7, 8, 9 units of these.
Okay, I take
And
it these aren't line. They
these
do
are
they?
not line.
No.
No, these
Okay,
aren't line either. So you're going to have to take your attack
some
squads or
sort of
what
scoring.
some sort of scoring. But you don't have to take. It's not compulsory for you to take headhunters within this rival war either. So there's something to bear in mind because I never do. I'm desperate to do a unit of headhunters, but I just the models are the torsos are just so teeny weeny when you put them on
Oh,
the
you
old
need to
Mark IV
check out
legs.
Tortuga Bay, mate. Tortuga Bay. Get on it.
Okay,
They've got
but
Alpha
yeah.
Legion models.
Oh, did they actually? Oh, okay. I didn't
Yes.
know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so headhunters and the fact that they can fit in the fast attack is useful because if you've got a lot of heavies, you want you're gonna have to have 3 fast attack to unlock those 2 heavy sport choices. Adding 2 victory points, especially in low scoring points games, is massively useful because usually you would get 1 VP anyway for say the warder, so you could potentially going to get 3, if not more, if it's like D3 any particular missions. Massively useful. Not useful if you're playing Saki Mazan because they don't relinquish any. So it depends.
Yeah.
It does depend on who you play. And then having shrouded on infantry. So I think I'm going to link this one. So number one is that um, vehicles have to start in reserve. So my advice and the way I play it is just don't take any vehicles if you're taking this
Yeah.
road war because you're
Yeah.
not faffing around with bringing them on from reserve. So that means that then any infantry you have, because you're going to want to stack up an infantry, has the shrouded if they're at least 12 inches away. Well, if you've got things in buildings, you're going to have a cover save. If you've got recon squads, they get +1 because they've got skirmish, I think it is. So they're going to get like a 4-up cover save, and then they're going to get a 5-up shrouded save on top of that as well. So that first turn, weathering that first turn of shooting, you can be super survivable. If you are super close to your opponent, though, with your headhunters, and you've gone very ballsy in with a scout and infiltrate move, and your opponent seizes or has first turn, then it means that they might be so close that they're just going to ignore it. So bear that in mind. But your heavy support squads hidden behind your Aegis defense lines, you got a 5-up cover, re-rollable 5-up against blasts, and then you got a 12-inch shrouded as well. So sorry, a 5-up shrouded, which is just massively
So
useful.
just one thing, when it says you have to be 12 inches away,
Yeah.
because you're Alpha Legion, does that mean you have to be 10 inches away, or
So
do you
I
actually?
don't know. I always
Yeah,
play this as just 12 as a flat 12
right.
inches.
Because I would
Yeah.
have read that as you have to be 10 inches away, but
Yeah.
is it?
I always play it as 12.
But yeah, that's
Um
fair enough.
yeah, but I know what you mean. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Right. So those are the two. Basically take Headhunter Vital because it's better. And if you can just take it, just take it. Um the buffs, I
But I
think.
have to say, I don't
Yeah.
think either of them are particularly terrible.
No, no, not at all.
And if
Not
you
at
don't
all.
want to spam, I mean, the reason you're taking Calls of Hydra is for rewards of treachery.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't have to take 3 units, can you?
No,
You can take
no.
two,
2. Yeah, yeah.
um,
100%.
and not be such a spammy prick.
Yeah, I mean, it would be
Um,
Iron Warriors would take 2
yeah,
Iron Havocs anyway. I
yeah,
mean, they would have no compunction about taking 2
yeah.
large squads of Iron Havocs. So,
This is the way.
yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Cool.
cool.
Right, let's have a look at, I think, Wargear next. Okay,
Oh,
so stuff
power
that I
daggers.
basically never upgrade my units with and never take. So we got, I'll do the Power Daggers and then Lee can do the Venom Spheres. So any model with the Alpha Legion special rule and the character unit subtype, so independent characters and just your sergeants as well, may take a power dagger for +5 points per model. This is actually interesting when you look at rewards of treason as well, because things like suzerain and I think Knight Zenobium are also characters as well. They all have the character subtype, so they can take a power dagger.
Uh,
So that's quite interesting. Power daggers are strength 3, AP 3. AP 3 is pretty good. That's nice, isn't it? And then they got melee, sudden strike 1, and then breaching 5 up. So it's not rending, it is breaching. And more times than not, you're going to want the 5 up because you're going to be wounding Marines on a 5 up anyway. So they're just, AP2 at that 5 up. So yeah, could be useful if you want an extra like paired weapon. if just for 5 points, it might be useful. But yeah, I've not got any feelings really about a powder.
No, it's funny because these were auto take in first edition because
100% weren't
they
they?
were,
Specialists, they're specialists. Yeah,
yeah. So they'd give you an extra attack if you had a power fist or something.
exactly
But
right. Yeah,
yeah, I am meh.
yeah. I think that
Um,
I'm indifferent about the power daggers now.
and that's kind of how I feel about Venom spheres, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah,
So 8-inch range, strength 1, AP dash, assault 6, poison 3 plus, one shot. For 10 points, just fucking don't bother. Would be it's kind of uh
yeah,
I when I saw that assault 6, I was like, oh, that's quite good. And then I was
yeah,
like, well, you're only going to be hitting with 3 or 4, and then poison
yeah,
3 plus, you might hit with 2, and it's AP
yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
So you might do 2 wounds, and then they're just going to save them, and then that's your one shot done.
Yeah, and then you say, "Oh, okay, well, I'll put them all on my suzerain unit." But then you go, "It's 10 points per model. Like
Yeah,
that could be,
no,
that's a
no,
hundred points. Just, I mean,
yeah.
it's like what, like 60, well, 60 shots, poison three up. I mean that. I mean, when you look at it like that, though, you're like, "Whoa, okay," but it's a lot of points, I think, to
It's a lot of
invest.
points,
Yeah,
and if it's yeah, it's the one shot. It's like, meh,
yeah. Oh, one shot. Oh, okay, yeah.
yeah,
The problem is, I think this is great en masse, but there's not a lot of units apart from Rewards of Treason that are going to be able to
yeah.
take it en
Well, I was
masse.
just having a quick look to see if any other of the um like Alpha Legion units have them, and they don't. It's
Okay.
always just the character of the unit that has
Yeah.
one. So yeah, they're all right. I don't hate them. I wouldn't spend 10 points for one, I don't think.
Yeah. Okay.
But let us know if you've had lots and lots of luck with them.
Cool, cool, cool.
Uh,
So let's go to Bane Strike Bolters. So these are pretty gnarly. These are really, really good. So if you got the independent character special rule and the Alpha Legion special rule, you may exchange a bolter for a Bane Strike bolter or a combi bolter for a Bane Strike combi bolter. We'll go through the profiles in a bit, and that's just for a measly 5 points each, which is I think worth it if you're going to take a bolter on someone or a combi bolter on someone. 5 points is probably worth it. Um, Additionally, any Seeker squads that have the Alpha Legion rule may exchange their Kraken bolters for Bane Strike bolters. I think that's more of a risk because some of those Seeker rounds are actually pretty good. Uh,
yeah,
but the Legion Vet Squad, that's I think where it really comes into its own. So Legion Vet Squads can take these, and bear in mind they are relentless. Can take these, and they exchange their bolters for only a mere 2 points per model. Like 2 points, that's it. And a Bane Strike bolter is range 18, so it's a short range. It's strength 5, AP4. It's rapid fire, so they'd be double tapping on 9 inches, but it is breaching 6 up. So not only can they double tap, but because they're relentless, those vets, they can also charge as well. So I think for the 2 points per model, it is like for me, it's almost like an auto like include just for that breaching 6 up. I think that's massively useful. And like the AP4, because basically there it's got like the stats of a heavy bolter, doesn't it? It's like,
yeah,
oh, strength 5
yeah,
AP4. Whoa, that could wreck some face against like Solar Orcs or Thalax or whatever. Um, so yeah, and then a Bane Strike combo bolter is twin length. So yeah, you're basically never going to miss, particularly if it's on an independent character with BS5. So yeah, I would 100% if I'm taking vet squads take this ZM. This is really they're going to be fucking amazing in ZM. And if you're doing Pride of the Legion, taking lots of vets, fucking take
yeah.
Bane Strike bolters, go mad, like brilliant weapon.
Cool.
Cool, cool, cool. Right,
Oh,
oh
this
look at
fucking
this.
guy.
Do you want to talk us through the Saboteur? He's
Uh,
not as impressive as he used to be, though.
so there is one mission that I ran at my event where this guy, this sneaky little fucker, ruined my entire mission.
Oh no.
So Legion, so this is obviously the Alpha Legion kind of specialist character, Saboteur. So 15 points, and he gains Infiltrate, Scout, and the False Colors special rule, as well as the Skirmish unit subtype. Uh, he may never be selected as a Warlord and cannot join any other unit other than Seeker Squad or Headhunter kill teams. So false colors. A unit composed entirely of models with this special rule may not be targeted with a shooting attack by an enemy unit as long as the unit with this special rule has not made a shooting attack at any point in the battle.
Right.
Once a unit or model with this special rule has made a shooting attack or successfully charged an enemy unit, including during a reaction, then this special rule has no further effect. Nor does this special rule restrict the enemy from declaring charges targeting a model or unit has this special rule. And then Wargear, he can take a Nemesis Bolter,
Yeah.
can't take jet bikes, etc., etc. So one of the missions I ran at my event was, I think we talked about it last show, or you mentioned it, was the old oh fucking hell, the name's just gone from me. Oh God. I was literally had it in my head and then the words just disappeared. It was the oh fuck my life. I swear I've got dementia. It was the one where you had the thing in the middle and both teams had to grab it.
Ambush. Oh,
No.
is it a victory point? Is it? Like
Yeah,
you
had
can just grab
like
it in the middle.
a thing in the middle,
Yeah.
and then whoever got it off their side
Yeah.
won. Oh, fuck was
Yeah.
it called? It's an old 40k mission.
Okay. Oh, you mean the
Uh,
relic?
the relic, the
Yeah,
relic. Yes.
yeah,
So you had to get the relic.
yeah,
You know what's coming, don't
yeah.
you?
I can
You
see
had
what's
to
coming
get the
now.
relic, and then get it back to your deployment zone. Essentially, get it off your side of the
Yeah.
off your side of the map. And someone, I can't remember who it was running Alpha Legion and they infiltrated their saboteur and he didn't shoot anyone.
He just
And he
took it.
snatched a relic and he just ran off. And I came over at the end of the game and he was just being chased by like this entire army. And he's just like, they can't shoot at
You
him.
can't
So
shoot
he's
him.
just
Oh,
fucking
that's so
running
good.
away.
Okay. So there are missions actually where this could actually come into its own. That's
And
funny.
I was a bit like, that's amazing. Like
Yeah.
I would not even change that mission to not allow that because that's amazing.
That is quite funny, actually. I mean, the thing is, I think with this, I mean, the old iteration of the Saboteur was really powerful because it came
Yeah.
on and then it could blow something up with like +1 pen, right? It
I
was
think you
automatic.
chose a unit or a vehicle before the game, and that
Yeah.
was the thing that he
It was like an
targeted.
automatic pen, and then you got +1,
you could pop
etc.
a Spartan first turn. Yeah.
But the thing about this now is that, you know, the temptation is to say, yeah, add a melter bomb because he has melter bombs, and then infiltrate him in the backfield, and then just walk up to a tank and try and blow it up.
Yeah.
But the problem is that he is still open to charges. You might not be able to shoot him, but you have got to charge.
Yeah.
And depending on the mission, it could be, you know, it could be a VP that you've lost because he's killed. So it's a bit of a risky strategy, but I think he's quite thematic. He's quite cool, and in instances like the one you described with the relic, you know, he's like the perfect unit to have in. But I think that you need to think really carefully about what you are going to add to this. And the other thing is that he doesn't. It's a unit composed entirely with the false flag rule. So like you can't add him to a headhunter unit or a seeker unit and then they gain the false colors. Sorry, the false colors special rule. It's just that he's just got to be wandering around on his own. And the moment, and it's not like you can put him backfield with a nemesis rifle just shooting a ship because the moment he shoots, he's then the target. So something to consider. He's kind of like this weird, in a weird like vigilator kind of like place.
Yeah.
Without the, you know, a nemesis rifle is just massively useful anyway because he'd be hitting on twos and then it's just it's you know, it's got that marksman rule. Can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but yeah, I can see it. For 15 points he gets an awful lot of war gear as well. Like he's good value, I think, but he obviously can't be taken as your warlord either, so it's not like you can just have him in there. So yeah, an interesting one, but I can definitely see some metal bombs backfield, throw him in, try and blow up something valuable.
I just like the idea of it. I just think it's cool.
Yes. Very cool
honest.
concept. Yeah, like it a lot. Cool. Right, let's have a look. I think we're going to go straight into our characters now. So, Alpharius. So, it's interesting because Alpharius, I think, is considered one of the weaker close combat ones.
Yeah.
But as an army multiplier, I would say he is one of the best, if not the best. And it was interesting at the Battle Royale, our tournament, the army that won was the army with Alpharius in it. So
Oh, interesting.
yeah, so he is really strong as a force multiplier. So let's go through him. So he's 465 points. He's not on the cheap side. He's got the basic stats for a Primarch that will not wow you. So it's movement 8, weapon skill 7, ballistic skill 7, strength 6, toughness 6, wound 6, initiative 6, attack 6, leadership 10, and a 2-up save. So there's not a lot to remember with his stats. It's just fairly like sixes across the board. And then he's Wargear. So I'll just mention the key ones. So he's got 3 Venom Spheres, which is pretty gnarly. So yeah, so that, I mean, it's fine, right? I mean, we talked about it. It's 30 points worth of
Yeah.
Wargear he just comes with there. And then he's got frag grenades, obviously, for charging through a difficult terrain. And then we'll go through his actual proper war gear in a second. He's got the Alpha Legion special rule, of course, which means that he's always -2 inches away. He's a Master of the Legion, Adamantium will 3-up. I think most Primarchs come with that anyway. Crusader, and then he's got all of his fancy rules. Now, the Sire of the Alpha Legion. So this is where we said the Warlord trait. This is basically the Master of Lies Warlord trait. So at the start of the battle, after all models from this army have deployed, including units deployed using Infiltrate special rule, and after any scout moves have been made, Alpharius controller player may select up to 3 friendly units composed entirely of models with the Legion Astartes Alpha Legion special rule, and he may redeploy them to any position in the controlling player's deployment zone or place them into reserve. So you can just pick them up, take them away. So if you get seized on, etc., pick them up. If you are going first, massively useful. You can redeploy according to how your opponent's deployed. And then, in addition, he may declare a single phase at the start of any turn in which he's the controlling player. He basically may choose a single phase, and that changes from turn to turn in which to have his additional reaction. So you go, okay, turn 1, I'm going to go for an additional movement reaction because I want to get my units up quicker. Turn 2, I'm going to go for additional assault reaction because you're coming close to me, yeah, etc., etc. So you can have a lot of flexibility with him according to what rule that you choose. So absolutely, like all of those, massively useful. Even more useful if you're going first. So yeah, any thoughts on that one, Lee?
No, no, like I said with the other Warlord trait, just the ability to redeploy stuff is huge.
Massive,
Yeah.
absolutely massive. Yeah. So everywhere and nowhere. So at the start of the battle, before any models are deployed, Alpharius may be given any of the following rules. So you can have Infiltrate, Scout, or Deep Strike. And then Alpharius controlling player may select up to 3 friendly units composed entirely of models with the Alpha Legion special rule, or to receive the same special rule granted by Alpharius. So basically,
Oh,
Alpharius chooses Infiltrate, Scout, or Deep Strike. And then 3 other units in the army may also have either Infiltrate, Scout, or Deep Strike, but it's got to be the same with Alpharius. Now, just you might look at that and go, yeah, that's all right. You could Scout or Infiltrate Leviathan Dreadnoughts. A Talon, in fact, or 3 Talons, because they are considered a unit until they are deployed on the battlefield. You could Deep Strike 2 Kratos. Like, this thing could be absolutely wild and is absolutely wild. So just from my perspective, a couple of things. So it is not uncommon for me to choose Scout, and I would usually choose Scout just to give a Contemptors, Leviathans an extra 6-inch movement. Yeah, for a Leviathan, that's a whole turn of movement.
yeah.
But also to scout up, say, Proteus speeders, their scout move is 12 inches. They're
Yeah,
not infiltrate,
yeah.
or that scout move is just so useful. I find that with the amount of augury scanners on the board, sometimes you can be a bit penned in with them when you select infiltrate. So I found that scout is just a little bit more flexible. But I know that lots of people take deep strike as well because they just want a deep striking element to the force. Like again, and this has been like a thread running through this show. The Alpha Legion are just so flexible on deployment, flexible in the game, flexible in their list building, flexible in their rights of wars, like really flexible playstyle.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say that might cause a little bit of controversy, I think, is Alpharius and then Command Squad. So, you know, Alpharius, it says that Alpharius may be given any of the following special rules. So what then happens if he has an attached command squad? That command squad can't leave
Okay.
leave
Yeah.
him. He is a unit with them. Does it gain it? Does that command squad then gain that rule as well? So I think that if you're not
Yeah.
sure or you're facing your opponent, it's worth just clarifying. I think general consensus is that they gain that rule, but if they gain that rule, then there's other things I think that would then impact in terms of like the wider game and command squads and things like that. So yeah, it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts. I play it that they gain that rule because they are one and the same. They are a unit. They can't be detached. But you might go, well, no, you need to use one of your one of your units,
Yeah, see, I
like
think that's how I would have looked at it. You have to use one of
one of the
your
units.
your units for the command squad.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, so let us know what you think in the comments down below. But anyway, very, very useful. Deep striking Kratos, deep
Yeah,
striking. I mean,
that's
deep
awesome.
striking Leviathans. You're saving yourself.
We sell, yeah, 300 points for free deep striking Leviathan.
Exactly. Yeah,
It's
from
insane.
drop pods. And they
Yeah.
can charge like from that deep strike. Like
And you don't have to fuck about buying, building, and painting free
exactly,
dreadnought drop pods.
exactly,
Like,
exactly. Like Alpha Legion. So good, so good. And
yeah,
also,
wow.
yeah, just so good. Right, Insidious Mastermind. So if you didn't think that those were pretty
Oh, this is
mental, like
fucking, yeah,
this is where it gets
yeah, yeah.
absolutely loopy. So
This is
basically,
insane.
yeah. So basically, at the start of any turn, um, in fact, I'll read it completely because I don't want to miss anything out. So at the start of any turn in which Alpharius controller player is the active player and Alpharius is on the battlefield, so he can't be in deep strike for this, he's got to be on the battlefield. But that does include when he's embarked on a transport. The controlling player may grant one of the listed special rules to models in the army. That and
To
including himself that do not
all
have
models in the
yes
army, all models
that
in
do
the
not
army.
have the vehicle unit type. That's fine because if you're taking Headhunter Leviathan, you're not going to take
You're
any
not
vehicles.
taking
That's
vehicles.
all good until the start of controlling player's next turn. Each of the listed special rules may only be selected once per battle. So there'll probably be on Siege of Cathonia. In fact, there will be a turn where you don't get a rule. So use them carefully. But you can have either the Fleet 2 special rule, amazing for runs and charges, the preferred enemy, everything special, everything, re-rolling ones on your hits and your
Insane.
wounds for like the
Insane.
entire army. Nuts, absolutely crazy. And then sudden strike, one special rule as well. Like all of those are incredible rules. And it's just about knowing when to use them. I would tend to use preferred enemy on the first or second turn. Sudden
Yeah.
strike, either turn 2 or 3, depending on the combats you're about to get into.
When you've deep strike your free Leviathan in with Melter,
And then you got preferred enemy
and
because
then
they
you
like hitting
just
on twos and re-rolling ones,
fucking
right? It's just
re-rolling everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's absolutely savage.
It's fucking
Yeah,
nuts.
it is crazy. So the Pythian scales, he basically gets a
Ah,
2 up, 4 up, and then it's also been fact as well. So in addition, if a Alpharius is the only model in his unit when declared as the target of attack, hits caused by that attack with a weapon with a fleshbane or poison special will gain no benefit when rolling to wound against him. So basically, if he's got like fleshbane or poison 3 up, it just doesn't matter as long as he's the sole person in that unit. So yeah, that's but it has no effect on the play. He has to be
it's a
the hot
weird,
so
weird fuck, that isn't it?
yeah. I think that basically what that was he was with a unit, so did his armor kind of like go like was the whole unit unaffected by poison and fleshbane?
No,
Um,
just him because
yeah.
it's his armor.
So they've cleared it up. Uh, Pale Spear. We've talked about this when we were looking at like the best Primarch weapon. So it's strength 6 because he is strength 6. It's AP 1. It's melee, armor bane, instant death, and 2-handed as well. Having instant death is brilliant.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah,
really good.
yeah,
If it's a Praetor you're fighting, you just stab him in the face and he's gone.
yeah,
Like, if you're fighting Mechanicum, just stab him in the face, they're gone. Yeah,
yeah.
it's internet's brilliant. You got to hit though. That's the problem with this, but it's fine
You're
because you'll have
re-rolling your
preferred enemy.
wands.
Yeah, exactly. And then the Hydra Spike, it's 18-inch range, it's strength 8, it's AP 3, so it's basically a crack missile, isn't it? It's assault 2, it's rending 4 up, amazing, and then it's mastercrafted. So if your preferred enemy, preferred enemy didn't work out, or you don't have it on for that turn, it's mastercrafted anyway. So, yeah,
Just keep re-rolling them once.
he is loco. Like he's not the best in close combat against other Primarchs. He's gonna really
Yeah.
struggle. But the things that he can do for list building, the things that he can do for deployment, the things that he can do in game for your army, he for me, if I'm allowed to take a Primarch, he's just an auto take at 3k.
Yeah,
Just put
yeah.
him in the army. Like build an entire army around this guy. He is brilliant.
Yes. Oof.
So good. So many rules on that one as well. It's not like Ferrous
Man,
Malice with like
I
two
was
rules.
reading the preferred enemy everything. I had to read that rule about 3 times just to.
Yeah.
I was like,
Let that sink
every
in.
every
Yeah.
model in the
Yeah.
army.
Yeah.
What?
It's
Fuck off.
crazy, right?
No.
Absolutely brilliant. You can build entire armies around
Christ.
Alpharius. It is
Love it.
really, really good. Cool, cool, cool. Right. Let's have next one. Lernaeans.
Oh,
So Lernaeans are on the weaker side of the
yeah.
Terminator spectrum, but they do have some buffs and other things that are probably get quite useful. So Lee, why don't you take us through this one, and then I will interject or add my thoughts at the
Yes.
end.
So Lernaean Terminator squad, so 250 points for 5 dudes. You get a Harrower, which is the sergeant, and then 4 Lernaeans. So their movement 6, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, strength 4, toughness 4. Wounds 2, the Harrower has 3 wounds. Initiative 4, attacks 2, Harrower has 3, and then leadership 8 and 9. 2+ save. And they are in Cataphracti Terminator armor. They come with Volkite chargers, power axes. The Harrower has a Venom sphere. I didn't realize they were line, so they're heavy but line.
Yes,
That changed
yes,
my
yes.
opinion
Yeah.
slightly.
Yeah.
Is this, I take it this is an elite unit.
It's an elite, yeah.
So special rules, obviously Alpha Legion, Relentless, Bulky 2, It Will Not Die 5+, Stubborn, and Hydran Exemplars. And Hydran Exemplars, the controlling player of a unit composed entirely of models with this special rule must select any one variant of the Legion of Starters special rule other than Alpha Legion at the start of the battle before any models are deployed. All models in the unit with this special rule gain a bonus of +1 to all hits made against models with the chosen variant of the whatever you've chosen, whatever legion you've chosen, you get +1 to hit.
So
So
just
that's
to
pretty fucking good.
yeah, so just to interject on this one, this is probably their saving grace because they're
Right.
weapon skill 4, having the
Yes.
+1 to hit basically makes them sort of pseudo weapon skill 5. The problem is on the hits back. That's the problem because they're weapon skill 4.
Yeah,
So
okay.
most units, Terminator units will hit them back on that. I think
Interesting.
that these have got a difficult. The problem is that you've got to justify taking these places instead of taking a squad of suzerain, which are also heavy line and are just better in every single way. And
Yeah.
that's the issue with the Linnaeans, which is that when you can pick any other elite Terminator unit in the game, why take Linnaeans over, uh, suzerain? And I think this is where they probably kind of like fall down. What I will say though is that if you combine Hydran exemplars with the +1 to hit Warlord trait, which was called Hydran Excursor, you then have like +2 to hit. So you can stack
Interesting.
those and then you've got quite you could be hitting elite Terminator units on twos. Um, which could be which is massively useful, but they're still going to hit you back on threes. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just something to consider. They are lined, which is useful. They are, very solid. They've got stubborn. They've got a 2
Yeah.
up, 4 up. Yeah. Do you want to talk through the dedicated transports and the
Yeah,
options?
so they can take Land Raider Proteus or Dreadclaw if they number 5 or less, or they can take a Spartan if you have lots and lots of points to waste.
Hmm.
You can take up to 5 additional Lernians at 45 points per model, and then for every 5 models, one can exchange this Volkite Charger for either a Heavy Flamer, Conversion Beam Cannon, Plasma Blaster, or a Volkite Culverin. Um, these seem fucking expensive. You can
Yes,
exchange Power Axe for a Power Fist for 15 points, or for a Chain Fist for 20 points.
it is insane. Like,
I have gone from thinking what a fucking waste of time to I actually quite like these. I think the
yeah,
trouble is they sit in the elite slot, like
yeah,
you said.
yeah,
But I quite like a squad of these just to sit at the back line, stick a conversion beamer on them, and just keep scoring backline.
yeah.
You can
So,
fight
yeah,
anything that deep strikes in. You
yeah,
know, you've the +1 to hit. You know, unless people are going to have to throw something fairly dedicated into them
to get rid
to
of them.
get rid of them. They
Yeah,
will not die 5+, just makes them even more survivable.
yeah,
I kind of like these. It's just
yeah,
a shame
yeah.
they're not
Uh,
trooped.
a suzerain is 30 points. Dude, these guys are 45 points. I think
Yeah,
that, and
okay.
this is where, if you're an Alpha Legion player looking at points, the points economy, you are just going to go, well, I'll just take suzerain or just take just Aaron. But I
So,
think if you were forced to take them, I think exactly as you say, you go five, add one conversion beamer on them, and just
yeah.
fire pot shots into your opponent from a distance, and then hope just sit on objective, and then hope that they're super survivable with stubborn, and then the ear will not die, and then they're 2 up, 4 up. I think is the way to go about doing it.
So the I'm just having a quick look.
Yeah,
So I think the only way I would run these really is if I was doing a Pride of Legion list.
yeah,
Because the trouble with Pride of Legion list is you can only take 2 scoring units. You can
yeah,
take 2 squads of Terminators,
yeah, yeah,
or veterans if you want, and give them Bane straight strike bolters.
yeah,
Um, but any additional Terminator squads you take after those first 2 aren't scoring. Whereas you
yeah.
could add these in, and they've got line, but they're now troops choices.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're now troops choices.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's clever. Okay, yeah, I see. So you take like 2 vets as you're scoring, and then you shove
Yeah,
these in the troops, and then they're
and
line.
they're still scoring.
Okay, okay. Yeah, okay.
You get me?
I get you. Actually, that's pretty good. And if I'm gonna do that though, I mean, you're gonna put them in. I would actually put those in processes, or I put them in even in Spartans. I just go mad and just bottom like,
Interesting. See, I
yeah,
just have them on foot, keep them
interesting.
as holding rear
Okay. And you'd have
objectives.
the vets in some kind of assault vehicle like
Yeah,
Proteus
yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah. Well, I yeah, or just deep strike them in with Alpharius.
Even better with their Bane Strike bolters.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, that's worked great. Okay, okay, okay. I can see some play there actually, and actually,
Because
I
the
do love the models.
downside
The
of
models are
Pride of
brilliant.
Legion is you can only take 1 heavy support
That's the problem.
choice,
Yeah, so you can only
but you
get.
just take 3 Leviathans and deep strike those
Yeah,
motherfuckers
that's
in.
and that's 100%. I love it. Okay, I like that a lot.
Done.
Cool, cool, cool. Right, look at this. We're doing list building on the way as we go. This is great. Yeah, I love that. Okay, that's pretty cool. I do love the models and I've used them for my
Yeah,
command
the
squad because
models are cool. Yeah,
they look absolutely sick. Okay, awesome.
yeah.
Right, let's go to the next one, which is Headhunter kill teams. So we talked about these before. So just to kind of to pick out a few key bits and pieces. So basically they're 1 wound apiece, but they are ballistic skill 5, and I think that's the most important thing. Leadership 8 and 9, they got 3 up save. In terms of their war gear, they come with an awful lot, and in terms of their special rules, they come with an awful lot. They are skirmish, which is great because they get +1 cover in close. Sorry, in like in income, and then if it's a ruin, it'll become a 4 up. Massively useful, and then I think they can be 3 inches apart if they're skirmish as well. So you don't need to fear blast as much. They come with a Bane Strike Bolter. We know how useful that is. Power daggers. So each one comes with power dagger actually, which is quite cool.
Yeah, that's pretty
Um,
good actually. Yeah.
yeah, and then because they can combine the bolt pistol and then their power dagger, and then they've got 2 attacks and then three on the charge. Um, 1 venom spear, and then their various grenades and their power armor. In terms of their rules, so they are relentless. So that's actually quite useful for the base strike bolters, but it would be more useful for a
Oh, yeah.
multi-melter in a second though. They've got precision shots 4 up. They've got preferred enemy independent characters. So where how that works is if there's an independent character in the unit, then they'll have preferred enemy against that entire unit. And they've got infiltrate and scout. So I would advise not taking a transport for these guys. You can take a transport for these guys if you want to, but remember in Headhunter Leviathan in particular, you'd have to start from reserve. Each one of these guys is 20 points, which is fine. Um, Yeah, that's fine, I think. And then they can exchange their base shot bolters for a Magna combi weapon, which is 5 points each. So those are very, very cheap. So if you're looking at a combi plasma, a combi melter, it's only 5 points, which I think you're inevitably going to do because these guys are essentially for
Yeah, I
taking down
hadn't felt on. I
characters.
hadn't. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's pretty good actually.
And then you are also going to take a multi-melter as well because
Yeah,
your multi-melter is twin linked. Uh, you're you've got preferred enemy. So if you're unlucky to roll a 1 on the hit, you just go, oh, I'm just going to re-roll that.
mm, mm.
So it's pretty much guaranteed to hit, and then you're pretty much guaranteed to wound. And then that independent character, that warlord, that apothecary, I mean, apothecary can do nothing about it, right? Unless it's a cover save. But your
Yeah,
warlord's down to his 4-up save, his 4-up in bun, and then if he hasn't got battle hardened, he's gonna be nuked. They can take some weird other war gear, so like an Inferno pistol. I can definitely see like an Inferno pistol being massively useful at 6-inch
yeah,
range. Um, but you just have to go, okay, well, do I want to save 10 points and just go for a combi weapon? The problem is, I think, on the counter, which is that these guys will shoot, they'll probably kill the things that they want to kill, but then they're left out open with just normal bolters. And so
yeah,
I always feel they're kind of a bit of a suicide squad, these guys. They can take some close combat weapons. I probably wouldn't. But a power fist is only 10 points, which is a bit of a bargain because I think like a Centurion power fist is like 20 or 30
mm,
points. Melter bombs for 15 points, and then Artificer armor for 10 points as well. How I would arm them, I'd probably go squads of 5 because you got lots of slots that you can put them in. With multi-melter and then 4 combi melters or 4 combi plasmas. And then just try and go as close as possible to your opponent. Hopefully you get first turn, and then nuke nuncios, nuke apothecaries, nuke independent characters, or nuke characters. That's where I'd be aiming for this. For me, any thoughts on that?
No, no, I quite like them. They're
Yeah.
basically a slightly more expensive, slightly better Seeker squad, really, aren't they?
That's exactly what they are, and they got
Um,
relentless, which is useful. They're
I
only
mean,
one
Relentless
wound,
is
but
huge. If they
yeah,
didn't have Relentless, I would not even look at these, I don't think.
yeah,
But
yeah,
being
hundred
able
percent.
to run around with a multi-melter, just
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
turning characters into slag is
yeah,
fucking
but
brilliant.
brilliant, right? Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah,
the fact that multi-melter is 24-inch range, is
yeah,
even
yeah,
better,
yeah,
right? Because actually, you don't even need a scout move on this. You can just hide in some cover. Just one guy, just
yeah,
blasting multi-melters.
yeah.
Things. So yeah, it can be really useful. But and actually the access and ease to just getting
I
multi-melters
think
now via plastic is just so
the
easy.
trouble with these, which is probably the same with the Seekers, is it's easy for them to become very expensive
Oh, 100%.
for something that will crumble like a soggy Kit Kat.
If you seize against your opponent and you have put these too close, I think that these are just gonna be get a battering because people are gonna
But
know basically number one, I need to shoot with these things that are far away so the multi-melter can't react.
yeah,
I'm not going to shoot with my precious independent characters within there because they're just going to react.
yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. So but yeah, I would keep them cheap and just assume that you're going to lose them by turn 2, but hopefully they can take out more points than they cost.
Yeah, cool. I
Cool,
like
cool,
them.
cool. Right, let's have a look. I think it's
Oh,
oh yeah, Alpha Legion and Inductee. Okay, these are pretty good, and these are even better with Alpharius because everything is better. Um, do you want to run us through these ones?
So Legion Tactical Squads, all models in a unit modified by the Alpha Legion Inductee template gain the Inductee unit subtype. Special rules, all models in a unit modified by the Alpha Legion Inductee template replace the heart of the Legion special rule, the Treacherous Lure. And Treacherous Lure is a unit made up entirely of models with this special rule may not be selected as the target of shooting attacks in any phase of the first game turn of the battle. However, the unit may be the target of a shooting attack made as part of the Interceptor advance reaction, and it may suffer hits and wounds from attacks that scatter onto it, or are otherwise allocated to it due to the effects of another special rule. Okay,
So you can't shoot them.
interested?
You know where I'd do this?
Yeah.
If I was in taking out Forest in a scoring game, I'd give Infiltrate to these guys, and then I just hop them on objectives, and your opponent can't shoot at them first turn. Like, that's where I think these come into their own. Armillus Dynat can also give infiltrate to units as well, so we can talk about that a little bit later. But that's where I think if you can infiltrate or scout onto an objective from the first turn and just farm those objectives as quickly as possible without worry of somebody shooting you, that's where it comes into really comes into its own. They lose Heart of the Legion, so they lose that 6-up feel no pain. But I think the fact that they can't be hit is really good. But they can be, obviously, if you go balls deep and you go so far forward and your opponent can still charge at them even though they can't shoot them. So just something to bear in mind. Hopefully your Alpha Legion
like this.
-2.
I don't know. Part of me likes this, part of me doesn't. Because I feel like as long as you're scoring with these units in the first turn, then it's of benefit.
Otherwise they're just weaker tactical marines.
And your opponent is like, well, I can't shoot at any of these units, so I'm just going to shoot at everything else.
Yeah, that is a good point. I suppose like these would be quite useful to take in your idea for a Pride of the Legion, actually, just as some cheap scoring that you can put onto things from the first turn.
That
are sacrificial from the start of the game.
Yeah.
I think that might be the way to do it. Cool. All right, let's continue. So the Ifrit Disruption Cadre. So this is a unit from an exemplary battle book. So let's just go through. So things to note: they're movement 7, ballistic skill 5. They are 2 wounds apiece, so they're kind of similar to veterans. In fact, they are basically veteran stats, aren't they? Apart from they've got weapon skill 4. Issue 8 and 9, and then a 3-up save. They've got Bane Strike shotguns. So the Bane Strike shotgun is 12 inches, strength 4, AP 5. It's assault 2, shred, breaching 6-up, and concussive. That's actually a brilliant weapon, particularly in Zone Mortalis. I think that'll be really good. They've got a bolt pistol, and then they've got a Hydra as well, disruption array. I'll come to that in a bit because that's basically the thing you're going to take them for. They've got shroud bombs, so they're 6 inches away. Well, actually, it's 8 inches away when shooting. And then their special rules, they've got infiltrate and they've got scouts as well. They don't appear to have a close combat weapon in any way, shape, or form. That's interesting.
No.
Okay. And then they've got skirmish
just
as well.
Judo chopping people.
Yeah. Then they've got skirmish as well, which we've got.
Oh, they can take power daggers.
Oh, there we go. Okay,
25 so you're gonna points.
As the entire unit. Okay, so basically, the more you take, the better that becomes. Okay. And they can take multiple. We're getting ahead of ourselves here. Right. Okay. So they're 21 points a model. If you want to add more to them, everyone can take a Nemesis Bolter for 10 points, which is fine. I suppose the fact they're BS5 is useful because they're better than.
I think it's worth taking 1 or 2 in a squad. Yeah,
so.
Get rid of some of those annoying fucking artificer armor.
That's quite good. They're not relentless though, so they can't move them and shoot them the way vets can. But it's interesting. The entire squad can take metal bombs for 5 points. Very rare can a unit take metal bombs as an entire unit, so that might actually be worth looking into. Power daggers for 25 points. So the more you take, the cheaper the power daggers become. And then your sergeant, your Ifrit principal, can take a power weapon for 5 points, which is quite cheap. Yeah, power axe in there, gets an additional one for a bolt pistol. But this one is really what it's about. So the disruption array. I'll just read the fluff on this. So issued to elite forward infiltration teams, these arrays projected targeted waves of disrupted signals across a multitude of frequencies, overwhelming enemy comms, scanning coordination networks, and rendering them useless. So everybody has one of these in the unit. So they've got so it's 12-inch range, it's assault 1, and then it's got the Hydra's whale special rule. So a unit that suffers 1 or more hits from a weapon with this special rule must reduce their leadership characteristic by -1 until the end of their controlling player's next turn. Interesting. That's quite a long time. A unit can only be affected by a single instance of the Hydra's whale special rule at a time. Oh, interesting. Okay. In addition, so you can't stack the leadership. So you might have like 5 hits or 5 chances, but you can't be stacked.
Yeah.
In addition, units affected by the special rule do not gain the benefits of any war gear that models in that unit have that includes augury or vox in its name until the start of the active player's next turn.
Mm.
Okay, I can foresee a problem with this. A weapon this special rule may not be used to make shooting attacks as part of reaction. I can see a problem with this. Like, so Vox is fine because then at night this would be mega useful because it drops your leadership down by 1, and then your Vox basically will be another one. The problem is because the augury it says until the start of the active player's next turn. Does it mean the active player? Which active player is it referring to? Is it referring to the
Yeah,
player who shot
it's
the
the
Ifrit or
person
the?
who's shooting the Hydra as well, isn't it?
Oh, right. Oh, this is massively useful then for the
Yeah.
next turn
Yeah, yeah.
because then you've got deep striking Leviathans coming in and then they're safe, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, because you can't use a augury scanner against them.
Um, yeah.
I think it all depends on who the active player is. If the
In
active
addition,
player
units
is the person who
effective.
shot the Hydra as well, then this is really good. If it's the normal opponent, then it's not so good. We
Until the
just
start of the active player's next turn. So the person shooting this is
is
the
the
active
active
player,
player.
aren't they?
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
start of their next turn.
yeah. So that gives you
But
basically.
when are you going to be using, or when's your opponent going to be
Oh,
using auguries?
yeah, in your turn,
In
at the
your
start
turn?
of your turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, this is
So
this doesn't work. I don't think
no,
like deep strike. Yeah,
because
this.
your movement phase, you're going to deep strike something in.
Yeah,
They're going to shoot you with their auguries.
yeah.
And then you're going to shoot them and be like, aha, you can't use
They're
your
now switched
auguries.
off. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Unless that's changed in a fact and we haven't noticed, or that we're reading this wrong. When I first read
Yeah.
these, I was like, oh, these are a bit shit because they can't switch off augury
Yeah,
scanners.
that's bizarre
Um,
because
yeah.
it's literally stops working at the point when you want it
You
to
wanted to
start
sort of, yeah. Okay.
working.
Cool. Okay. If there's something that we're
Mm,
missing on this, let us know. But
yeah.
we're chalking this up to the Hydra's well being an absolutely useless one, except at night
Yeah,
and
that's
switching those off.
bizarre. I mean, it still affects leadership, I suppose,
Yeah.
but yeah.
But the thing is they've not got firing protocols. So if you're firing your Hydra's whale, you're not firing your bone strike bolters.
Yeah, and I feel like you want to be
Or
putting
Hillbats.
shotguns into fools.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Right, let's have a
Mm.
look. I think we're going to move on to
I
special
quite like
characters
this
now.
unit though. I do. I have to say, like, besides the whole Hydra's
Well, yes, all right.
whale.
I take Seekers over these guys then, I think. Just for the
Yeah,
preferred enemy. Preferred
yeah.
because they come with preferred enemy 4 ups, so cool.
Here he is.
Exodus. Right. There are a lot of rules on this guy. So, he is a really cool character. Basically, nobody knows who he is. But
Well, he's Exodus.
he's part of a cadre of a team that is called the Exodus
Uh,
Assassins, and you never know which one you're going to get. So, lots of rules, pretty cool. But I would say he's quite pricey at 165 points. You're getting to like a proper beefy HQ at this point. So he's movement 7, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 6. That's a bit naughty.
ooh.
Normal stats for Space Marine. He's got 3 wounds, initiative 5, attacks 3, leadership 9, a 3 up save. So let's have a look at the bajillion things he's got in his war gear.
Free
But
up
he's
saves a
got
bit crap, isn't it?
a bit crap,
For a
yeah.
165 point model.
Yeah. He's got bolt pistol. He's got power dagger. He's got the instrument they call it, which is his ginormous sniper rifle. Power armor, refractor field. So he's got 3 up, 5 up. He's got 1 venom sphere. He comes with a melter bomb. And then he's also got shroud bombs as well. So combining all that together in shooting, that's a -8" to your range, which is pretty gnarly.
Yeah, that's
He's
good.
got light, and I think light means so I think that if he runs, I need to.
Oh, Christ.
I'm not sure actually. I don't know, but basically he's got light. I'll have to check what light does. So yeah, maybe have a check firstly while you're looking it up.
If
He's
I
got
can
relentless,
find it.
Pathfinder, move through cover, the hidden hand, lone killer, shrouded 5 up, which is really nice. So he just comes with shrouded 5 up, just as normal, which is massively
Oh
useful.
yeah, that's huge.
And then Assassin's Eye. So Lone Killer. He may not be taken as a compulsory HQ choice. Only as a non-compulsory HQ choice. He may never be an army's warlord, and he may only join recon squads or headhunter kill teams. Seems a bit of an oversight that he can't join Ifrit teams as well, or Efrit teams or whatever they're called, but he can only join them. Uh, Assassin's Eye. So when Exton makes an attack as part of a shooting attack, the range of any weapon is not restricted or affected by the night fight. So he ignores night fight completely. He ignores shroud bombs or any other rules that changes the range.
Oh, I
Basically,
like
he just
that. That's
always
good.
just he's always just the range of his weapon.
Yeah.
In addition, Exton's never suffers any penalty to his ballistic skill from night fighting or any other special rules. Always makes to hit rolls using his full ballistic skill. Okay, so he could potentially run and then also shoot as well. Yeah, because it says including snapshots as well. Okay, interesting. And no model may make shrouded rolls to negate wounds included by their attacks. Oh, that's even better. So he just ignores shrouded. He basically has like kind of like a pseudo night vision. In fact, he basically does have night vision, doesn't he? Actually, because those are
Yeah.
the rules that he ignores. The hidden hand. When deploying Exodus onto the battlefield at the start of the battle, the controlling player may place him in any position on the battlefield as long as Exodus is within area terrain or at least 9 inches from any model. So it's not a scout, it's not an infiltrate. You just literally deploy him 9 inches away from model or in area terrain from any model. Exodus, dog's barking. Don't know why. And then regardless of line of sight or proximity to the enemy model. So that's brilliant. So he can just get as close as he wants to. But really, actually, because he's got a long range weapon, you just kind of want him shooting from
Yeah,
far
you
away.
don't really want him that close, do you?
If he joins a unit during deployment or whilst in reserve, he basically loses that special rule, but instead gains the scout and infiltrate special rules instead, which is, again, massively useful. Right, this is where it really comes into its own. So the instrument is counted as an auto weapon. The instrument has 2 profiles. You pick which one you want to use. And when it's fired, however, any shoot attacks made by the instrument as part of reaction must use the rapid shot profile. So, rapid shot, 24-inch range, strength 7, AP2, assault 3, sunder, and pinning. All of that is just massively useful. Like, yeah, really, really useful. And bear in mind that yeah, that's just hugely useful, isn't it? And then execution shot, range 72 inches, strength 7, AP1. It's heavy one, so you only get 1 shot, so you really need to hit. But it's sniper, sunder, pinning, and deadly aim. So basically, he can just choose where these kind of go. And deadly aim, if Exodus has not moved in the turn of a shooting attack is made using this profile, the attack may be given the Brutal 2 special rule. If the attack is given the Brutal 2 special rule, then no charges may be declared for Exodus in that turn. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. Like he could just take down a Centurion in power in like Artists for Armor really easily. He's going to have a harder time like taking down a Praetor just with 1 shot. Because of the fact it is Brutal 2, it's not doing, and it's only heavy 1. But yeah, he's a pretty cool character, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think he's overpowered in any way.
No.
But where I think this comes to his own is less about shooting for like warlords and more being like, that apothecary gone, that sergeant gone, that those kind of like 1 wound, 2 wound characters,
Yeah.
is where I think he really comes into his own.
So the light subtype.
Yeah.
A unit that includes only models with the light subtype gains a +1 modifier to its initiative when determining how far that unit may run.
Oh.
This stacks with other bonuses to run distance, such as fleet, special rule, and when moving as part of a reaction. A unit that includes only models with the light subtype may make shooting attacks after having run, but makes all such attacks as snap shots. Models or weapons that cannot attack as snap shots may not attack. And finally, models with the light subtype may never claim a cover save in the same turn that it makes a run move.
Oh, interesting. Okay, fun.
So there you go.
There you go. Right.
Yeah, I quite
go
like
on.
him. I just think
it's all right.
for 165 points, I don't know. Like,
It's quite a lot. It's quite expensive for what you get. Yeah.
considering, yeah, you could possibly kill a single apothecary each turn, but
I think that's the problem here, which is that a vigil I think he's cool and it's an awesome looking model, but I
Yeah.
think a Vigilator does a similar job for far less
Yeah.
if you're just sniping out one wing characters. Um, he doesn't have the flexibility of kind of like deploying. Well, I suppose he does, doesn't he? But I just think get this model, run him as a Vigilator. But yeah, cool. If you've used this guy before, let us know what you think. But every time I have gone to use him, I've just gone, no, I'm just going to use him as a Vigilator instead because
Yeah. It's a shame, but yeah.
it's right. Cool, cool, cool.
Cool.
Right, let's have a look at Armillus Dynat. So,
Yeah.
first
This
thing
guy.
to tell you about Armillus Dynat. Oh, I thought he had the traitor. Oh, he doesn't have traitor. So, none of the units that we've looked at have the traitor
Yeah.
type. So, they can be
Nice.
used with loyalist or traitor, which
Sneaky
is interesting.
fucking Alpha Legion.
Even Alpharius isn't
Are they
traitor
the good
specific.
guys? Are they the bad guys? Who
Who is that?
knows?
Oh my gosh, I thought this guy was a traitor, but clearly he's not.
Um,
Anyway, so I tell you what, you run us through this one because I just did all the talking on that last one.
Armillus Dynat, 185 points, Harrow Master of the Alpha Legion, Griefbringer, Insta 9. Insta 9 sounds like a really shit Instagram tag, I
It
have to
really.
say. He's movement 7, weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 5, strength 4, toughness 4, free wounds, initiative 5, attacks 4, leadership 10 with a 2 plus save.
He's a
He
Praetor, isn't
has,
he? It's just a Praetor stats across
yeah,
the board, isn't it? Yeah.
he is character unique. He has a bolt pistol. He has the Prince and the Prophet. He comes with a Venom Sphere, Phosphex Bomb, Artificer Armor, Iron Halo, and grenades. And he has the Alpha Legion Special Rule, Master of the Legion, independent character, Relentless, Precision Strikes 4 plus,
That's all right.
Weapon
It's good.
Master, and his Warlord trait is the Harrowing.
Tell you what, a cheeky phosphates bomb. Like those are usually like 10 points.
Yeah,
The
I
Venom
like
Sphere,
that.
10 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, he's just 20 points and just yeah, okay. All right, that's interesting.
So the Harrowing. At the start of the battle, before any models are deployed by either player, the controlling player of an army whose warlord is Armillus Dynat may choose to select 3 friendly units composed entirely of models with the Legion as a status, Alpha Legion special rule, and the infantry unit, and give all models in those units one of the following rules: infiltrate, scout, or counterattack 1. In addition, Dynat may make an additional reaction in the opposing player's movement phase as long as he's not dead. Um,
This is
yeah,
like
I
a
like it.
cheap version of Alpharius, right? With the
Yeah,
fact that he can give a
yeah,
rule to it. I think both infiltrate and scout is useful. It's not on any unit like Alpha Legion, but like Alpharius. But I think that if
no,
you're playing ZM, this really is powerful because you can infiltrate 3 units. Uh, in ZM any way you want to, which is just is massive useful, or scout 3 units, right? Which is just again so
yeah,
useful.
yeah, yeah,
I think that the counter attack is probably one that I'd be less interested in.
yeah. I
But
was thinking, what sort of list could you run to? I mean, you'd obviously need a close combat style
yeah, that's the problem,
list,
isn't it? Yeah.
but yeah, it's a shame, but
Um, but I suppose like I don't know, if you're taking rewards of treason and you're taking some world eater rewards of treason units from rampages, giving them a counter attack
yeah,
one might be
yeah,
useful. So you don't feel like you're losing too much, too far out if you do get charged. But I think again, this guy coupled with the inducti, giving 3 units infiltrate of inducti, just plonking them on objectives and they can't be shot first turn. If you're talking about a scoring game, really valuable. If you want to move things up quickly, you know, um, those units will confer their infiltrate or scout onto a
yeah, yeah,
tank,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
useful if you're not taking Headhunter Leviathan. And actually infiltrate and scout like that will give them outflank as well, right? So yeah, again, the theme and thread of this has been just the flexibility you've got for deployment and bringing models onto the board. You could build a whole list around Armillus Dynat, who is good as a like a force multiplier, but isn't too shabby in close combat either.
Yeah, you could have 3 units of 3 rapiers and infiltrate the fuckers.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Because yeah, exactly. A
Um,
really frightening prospect that.
So special rule weapon master, essentially he can split his attacks between any of his weapons. You just have to do this before you do.
Yeah.
You have to declare it before you roll for the
Yeah.
attacks. And then the weapons, the prince is strength user, AP free, melee, rending 6+,
Just a
and
power
the
sword in it.
prophet is strength 9, AP2, melee, unwieldy, thunder strike. Fucking thunder strike sounds like an 80s kids cartoon.
It does actually.
If any enemy model that does not have the vehicle unit type suffers one or more hits, regardless of whether or not those hits resulted in wounds from the prince, then Armillus, Armillus Dynat may make one attack with the prophet in addition to any other attacks he has made with either weapon in initiative step
Yeah.
1. Okay,
So you're always
right.
going to want to split your attacks. You're always going to want to
Yeah.
put one attack with the prince on, and then the rest on the prophet, just in the hope that you get an additional attack on the prophet. I mean, you could put them all on the prophet if you wanted to,
Yeah.
but it just will give you a cheeky little like um power sword attack, and then hopefully you get an extra attack with the prophet as well.
Yeah.
I don't
Interesting.
think it's not a game changer, the weapon. I mean,
No.
it's like it's a strength 9 power fist essentially, but it is a melee weapon. It's not a specialist weapon, so you do get an additional attack for
Oh,
close
interesting.
combat
Yeah,
weapons.
yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah,
so
that's
you've got
pretty good actually.
6 attacks on the
On the chart,
charge.
yeah.
And if you just, I mean, 6 attacks with a strength 9 power fist is pretty scary, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
pretty good. I don't think so. Strength 9. What I don't know with Battle Hardened whether I think you do need still strength 10 to double it
Yeah.
out. I don't think strength
Yeah.
9 does will do the job, but yeah, it's good and good against things. What's always frustrating, I think, is things like when you're trying to attack a Spartan with a strength 8 power fist and you haven't got any chain fists in there.
Yeah.
So having just being out, and because then you're just glancing it on sixes. So having a strength 9 like power fist essentially is actually just useful. It's just massively useful.
Yeah. I like this guy. I think you're
Yeah.
taking him for his warlord trait,
Yeah, 100%.
as opposed to the prince and the prophet.
Yeah. I think
But
the
yeah,
pro
pretty
the other
good.
problem I think with this guy is that if you are allowed special characters at the event you're going to or the games that you go to, you look at this and just go, well, why take Dynat when you can just take Alpharius
Yeah.
and then just have
Yeah.
a cheap like Master of Signals to get your deep striking Leviathans in.
Yeah.
So that's the issue with this guy.
Spoken
Cool.
like a true whacker.
Oh, I forgot about this guy. Remember this
Ah,
guy?
this fucking
Oh
midget.
my god! I think this is the last one. So Ortolan's score 125 points. He is the OG Delegatus. We got the Delegatus unit type in first
Yes.
edition with this guy.
I think I have this model somewhere in the
He
bottom of my
yeah,
pile of
he's been
thing.
a conversion for many models.
Yes.
Can't get him now though. So basically, he's a Centurion stats. There's nothing too
I'll tell
much
you what
more
it
to say
is,
on that.
Rob. He's a fucking traitor.
This is the one. This is the only traitor in the Alpha Legion list. So he's got Centurion stats. He's got no real kind of war gear to to mention apart from the rhyme shard and a refractor field.
Rim shard.
Rimming his way across the galaxy. It is +1 strength, AP2, melee, unwieldy, and mastercrafted. It is a mastercrafted power axe, essentially. Nothing too exciting beyond that. And then he's got a couple of other rules. So he's got Warlord Trait, Desperate for Glory. So Desperate for Glory says on game turn 1, he has Feel No Pain 6 up, increasing to 5 up on game turn 2, and Feel No Pain 4 up on game turn 3, and successive turns until the end of the game. So it doesn't. So basically, he can only ever get Feel No Pain 4 up. From
Yeah.
game turn 3 onwards, it doesn't get better than that. In addition, he may select one phase at the start of the battle before any models are deployed onto the battlefield during the chosen phase of that turn, also score. And any unit he has joined may make a reaction without expending a reaction allotment. So that's really important. It's about him having the reaction and him and the unit getting the additional reaction. And it's also not flexible. You choose it before the start of the game. He has Honor of the Legion special rule, so once per battle at the start of any of the controlling player's turns, this rule may be activated. Once activated, take a leadership test using the leadership characteristic of 10. If passed, then all friendly units that are pinned or falling back and have at least one model that can draw line of sight to the model with this special rule immediately rally and are no longer pinned or falling back and may act normally.
Ooh.
That's actually so it's like a souped up version
Yeah.
of Rally the Legion.
Yeah.
Which is actually pretty good. 125 points. Is he worth it? Yeah,
I
probably. Just for Honor of the Legion, I think that's actually pretty gnarly.
mean, it's a cheap Master of the Legion, isn't it? On the
Yeah,
Legion, you may never use it, but that one time you use it, and half
yeah,
your army's running off the board, and then all
yeah,
of a sudden they're not.
yeah.
That's
It's
that's pretty
it's
pretty good.
great that it's on Leadership 10 as well, and it's
Yeah,
also not. It doesn't
yeah.
say like that's
Although
affected
you
by
know
night fight.
you're rolling 11, don't you? You're
Oh, well, yeah,
definitely
that's the way, isn't
the
it?
one time you use it, you'll be like, finally,
Yeah,
and then you
and
fucking
it's not.
fail
It
it.
doesn't look like it's affected by night fight, which is pretty good because I think a Delegatus is affected by
Hmm.
like this is just on his standard leadership as well. So.
Right. Okay.
Cool. Okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's actually, if you're looking for a very, very cheap, like Delegatus version, he might be the one for you, and you're running Traitor. But I, yeah, he's all right. I don't think he's amazing, and I'm not sure I'd throw him into too many challenges, even with a feel no pain, because
No.
he's only got a poxy power axe. So yeah. Okay. Cool. 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 And I think that's probably our last
That's
unit.
it.
Oh, that's it. The end of it. So what do you make of the Alpha Legion thing?
They're right, aren't they?
They're more than bloody all right. Bloody brilliant, mate.
I really like them. Really like them. I think uh yeah, I just think I feel like one of the things with second edition is there's a lot of restrictions to army building.
Yeah,
And I think Alpha Legion are one of the few armies that seem to get around a lot of that restriction.
yeah,
You really could. And not just from crushing your opponents and winning every game, just from creating thematic lists.
100%.
You can make like fucking deep striking a Kratos in.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's nuts, isn't it? It's crazy. Yeah. The amount of
Like
wild shit that you can do.
it
Yeah.
just, and obviously like it's deep strike, but in my head it's like ta-da, oh, what was that? There's a mound and then suddenly the mound disappears and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just a
It was like
Kratos
Kratos
sat
all
there.
along. Yeah,
Yeah. So I really like them.
yeah,
Really like them. Yeah, I just think like you say from the start, they sound like a very fun Legion to play. Um I feel like they're the sort of Legion you'd have to play a few games to really start to learn how things work.
yeah,
And really kind of maximize how effective they could be.
yeah.
But yeah, fucking hell. Don't start a Legion. Don't start a Legion. Don't start a
Yeah,
fucking Legion.
they are brilliant. And if you want to know more about lists and things like that, you can head over to the Patreon and I've done a fair few videos on
Just
kind of
want to
like
deep
list
strike
building.
3 Leviathans in and just be like, surprise, motherfucker!
Mate, that's the fact that you can just say like you can save 300 points and buy another Leviathan just from
don't
not
deep strike that
having
one.
the drop pods.
Yeah.
Like it's loco.
Fucking
So
hell.
yeah,
Yeah.
like so much flexibility within the Alpha Legion list, in terms of, as Lee says, the list build, but also just in terms of how they play. I do think that you can play a good game of Alpha Legion and a tricksy game without Alpharius, but I think it gets into the stratosphere the moment you put him into the list. I think that if I was facing Alpharius, I'd be like, fuck,
Oh,
or
fuck.
I'd just be like, this
Yeah.
is going to be a really uphill struggle because of what he can give to the army. Cool, cool, cool. Right. Well, I hope you have enjoyed that tour de force of Alpha Legion, guys. Let us know what you think of them. Maybe some of your games using them or against them. Let us know what you think, because I absolutely love them. They're my favorite
Mm.
army to play. Right, finally, just signing out with our final sponsors. So, Get You 3D. So, Dan is doing some amazing stuff with laser rapiers at the moment, and Wolf's rapiers, which looks absolutely awesome. So,
Yeah, I have seen them.
yeah,
They look
make sure
fucking
you
brilliant.
check out those because he does some quality prints. Who's next up? Curtain Games do all your one-stop shop for all your hobby needs, but also they do some amazing events as well. So make sure you give them a follow. And they are always really good about delivery as well. I'm always super impressed by how quick their delivery is. So make sure you go there. Right, next up, we have Sacrus Mundus, who can be found on Colts 3D, My Mini Factory, and Patreon as well. These guys are not 3D printers, but they design 3D terrain to be 3D printed. They do some absolutely amazing stuff, really inspirational, kind of like, if you like, an aspirational kind of like board design. So if you haven't checked these guys, or if you don't follow them, make sure you go follow them. They are a company based out of Spain, actually. So Heresy Hammer is so international nowadays. And with that, I think we're going to say
Are
thank
we
you
planning
to.
a visit over there?
Oh, well,
I
we
feel
definitely
like, you know,
definitely need to, I think.
all expenses paid
Oh,
trip
yes, please. Yes,
to
please.
Spain.
And then thank you to our top tier Praetons, our Praetors, our true friends of the show. These guys are subscribed at our top tier, and we send rewards to them every 6 months. In fact, I'm just getting ready this week to send out our next lot of rewards to these guys, and then we've also got our new lot of rewards: our t-shirts, our dice trays, and then a mystery one that I've said to people that I will show them, but still haven't shown yet. Going
Is that
out.
because you don't know what it is yet?
No, I got it. It's in my house. I just
The mystery
reason
is
the
he
reason
doesn't know
why
what
is
it is yet.
I keep on waiting for me to play a game to show and take some photos, and then I just get into
Okay.
the game so much, and then I just forget. So it's
Yeah,
something that's going to be useful
definitely.
for gaming. So that will be the first lot of those will go out in September. So looking forward to sending those guys out. And then I think just the final one from us. So if you don't already subscribe to us on Instagram, please make sure you do, and Facebook as well. We hit 1,000 followers on Facebook the other day, which was nice to see.
Jeez.
And keep on using that hashtag Heresy. I know we haven't featured any in the past couple of shows. There is a reason to that. We are going to do a community show. It is coming, I assure you, but we've just been kind of hit by a couple of unexpected things in the past month. So, but it will come. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed to the channel, what are you doing with your lives? Please make sure you do that straight
Crazy.
away. And that also means that you don't miss out on videos, because you'll get switch on those notifications. Lots of people say, "Oh, I got the notification on Patreon, and then I missed on this latest episode." I'm like, why do you miss it? Just subscribe, hit the bell, and then it will come up in your feed. If you want to send us some letters, some nice letters, some abusive letters, whatever kind
Dick
of letters,
pics.
then just send those to heresyhammer30k at
Oh
gmail.com.
God.
I'm
What have I
particularly
started?
particularly interested in lists and not dick pics. But also don't forget we offer sponsorship as well. So if you want an event sponsored, I've sent £100 to an event in Scotland.
Check you out.
Yesterday, and I think we've got another.
It's the most money Scotland's seen in years, isn't it? Fucking hell. I don't know what to do with it.
That kind of witty banter is exactly the reason why half of the population want to leave leave the United Kingdom, Lee. And then I've got an application sitting in our email folder right now to take a look at, and like Simon Cowell, I'll decide whether or not to give them some funds.
Fucking hell.
I feel very powerful, you see.
Yeah.
And then finally,
It's definitely not going to your head.
and then finally, our Patreon. If you want to support us as a channel, and help us to continue to make
I
content.
feel like we've just lost all our Scottish.
Go on, axe the number of patrons from Scotland. Then you can, for as little as £3 a month. We really appreciate it. You will be a part of an ever-growing kind of Heresy Hammer community. We really do appreciate your support. So thank you. Not just to those top tiers, but our Centurions, our supporters who support us through the Patreon, kind of our advertisers, and then also guys who subscribe at £3 a month. So there's loads of content on there. There's a 7-day free trial that you can access on there as well if you want to give it a go. I can tell you that 7 days there is too much content on there to get through it in 7 days. So
not enough hours in the day.
Nope. So make sure you subscribe, and make sure that you sign up. And with that, I will bid you adieu. So thanks ever so much for watching this episode, and thanks for joining us, and thanks to Lee for joining us as well on this one. It's been fun to get me excited about Alpha. I want to go and paint some Alpha Legion now. But yeah. So yeah, cool. Right, take care, guys, and see you on the next one.
See ya. Bye bye.